All right, we have more changes unfolding in the Golden State. Changes that have one of the iconic American fast food restaurants getting ready to close its doors for good in the state of California. People are mad. Consumers are mad. $20 for a Happy Meal or a Big Mac or whatever. Is this what it's come to in this country? Well, if you live in California, yes, it has. That's how expensive it just got. But there's more. The rot goes deeper, as Gavin Newsom was just cornered with questions by a local reporter, a press conference that he held where the governor normally receives a very warm welcome out there. Let's just say it turned a bit rowdy after it came out that Gavin's office lost track of billions in tax dollars, $24 billion to be exact. Just gone, poof. The state auditor's office says the money has gone missing. They can't account for it. Well, this is how it starts, folks. If you're going to raise people's taxes through the roof, raise minimum wage to $20 an hour, you better be a pretty damn perfect steward of our money. And Newsom's office, well, they are not. Wait till you hear about this. But before we get started, thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps out the channel. And consider subscribing so you don't miss these regular updates. So I'll be honest, I have a bit of a bias when it comes to California. I love California, an absolutely beautiful state, stunningly beautiful. Northern California specifically, it's one of a kind, a gem. The Lost Coast, the Redwood Curtain, the Trinity River, the Smith River. It's wild country out here, folks, in NorCal. People think of San Francisco when they think of Northern California, but that's not really Northern California. It starts a few hours past San Francisco, and it gets prettier and prettier. But even cities like San Francisco, at one time one of the nicest cities in the country, probably even the world, today's been transformed and overrun with homelessness, drugs, and crime. Shoplifting is like the new normal out in San Fran. But worst of all is the cost of living. I've been traveling through the PNW for the last 6 months, and one of the things you'll notice is just how damn expensive everything is, especially compared to back east. Gas prices, no surprise, obviously. Everyone knows gas, especially along the coast in California, like the highest in the country. We're talking well over $5 a gallon, but food prices as well, home prices, rent prices, everything seems to be higher out west. And unfortunately, it just got even worse. This is thanks to a law that was passed last September, but only went into effect 6 weeks ago, called AB 1228. We did a video about this in April, the minimum wage law, where California increased the minimum wage to $20 an hour for restaurant workers. Well, how's that working out? Pretty freaking poorly, that's how. We've already seen other fast food restaurant chains shut their doors out here. Only days after the law went into effect, restaurants began doing two things: raising prices and laying people off. Watch this clip. This clip was from 2 days after this law went into effect. Watch this.
Restaurants already responding to the wage hike, raising the prices on everything from coffee to burritos to burgers.
NBC4's Conan Nolan joins us now from the newsroom with more on what this means. Conan.
That's right. Never before has an industry faced a surge in labor costs like this one. Normally, minimum wage hikes are phased in over time. This was a 25% pay hike all at once.
The higher wages could have a trickle-down effect on customers. Fast food chains, including McDonald's and Chipotle, say they plan to raise menu prices to make up for the higher wages. Some businesses say they will need to cut staff. State labor filings say some Pizza Hut locations are already laying off workers. Hundreds of delivery drivers are many of those impacted.
Well, now one of the largest and most iconic fast food chains in the country, McDonald's, says they're getting ready to close their doors, close up shop in the state of California. And it's really just desserts when you think about it. This law, pushed by far left politicians in the state assembly and taken up by the governor's office, by the governor himself, used McDonald's as an example of how this law would help low-income earning Californians. They would name drop McDonald's constantly when pitching this law, saying people working there should have a livable wage. That's how they would put it, a livable wage. How McDonald's can afford it, they would say. They're a beyond billion dollar corporation. They can afford it. The problem with that they're not living in reality. That's not how business works. Restaurants already operate on tiny margins. Fast food restaurants operate on the slimmest of margins, requiring volume to make up the difference, and low-paid workers as well. Without those two ingredients, the model no longer works. And they knew this was going to happen. They were telling the governor's office for months not to do this. It's why McDonald's raised prices the same day this law went into effect. Check this out. MSNBC writes this from this morning. McDonald's on the verge of closing in California after $20 minimum wage. Again, this was put out this morning. California's recent hike in the minimum wage to $20 an hour has sent shockwaves through the fast food industry, particularly affecting McDonald's franchises. Franchise owners are grappling with the unprecedented impact of the wage increase, which has led to higher operational costs and increased menu prices. The situation, though, has become so dire that some McDonald's locations are on the brink of closing their doors, unquote. Now look at this. They mentioned the $18 or $20 Big Mac here, saying, quote, Scott Roderick, who owns 18 McDonald's franchises in California, has been vocal about the challenges posed by the new minimum wage law, charging exorbitant prices such as $10 for an Egg McMuffin or $20 for a Big Mac is not a viable solution, unquote. Look, it keeps getting worse for California and for California's governor, Governor Gavin Newsom. As the weeks go on, he just keeps getting the backlash from all of this, and it's his fault. He's the one who signed the law into effect. Right when all this started, 6 weeks ago, a state audit was also performed. This was a totally separate story. Now remember, California has a $45 billion budget deficit. That means the state lost $45 billion last year. They spent $45 billion more than they generated, more than they took in. And look, a state is not like the federal government. In this country, we're also accustomed to hearing about the federal government's budget deficit, right? We've been hearing it our entire lives, and it doesn't make a difference, it seems like. But states are different. States can't print their way out of a deficit. Balancing your budget is something a state has to do, or they go bankrupt. So all eyes are on California, and at a press conference last week held by the governor to address this issue, his budget deficit, his $45 billion budget deficit, how he plans to balance the budget. That's what the press conference was about. Address how to fill this $45 billion hole he dragged his state into. Things turned a bit rowdy. This local reporter got wind of some missing money out of the governor's office. Actually, it wasn't some money. It was $24 billion with a B, $24 billion, that was allocated and given to fight homelessness in California. Just disappeared, is gone, or can't be accounted for. That's according to the state auditor's office. That's a lot of money, especially when your state can't afford to keep the lights on right now. Watch this exchange and realize this reporter isn't a right-winger. She's a die-hard Newsom supporter. Watch this.
Hey, Governor. Well, I haven't talked in a while. Angela Hart, KFF Health News. Thank you. I have recently the state auditor found that California wasn't doing a great job on tracking its homelessness spending. And this isn't a gotcha question. You're doing more than any other governor in the country, really, to address this crisis. So I have a two-parter for you. Do you acknowledge, Governor, is your administration doing enough to determine whether the money that's being plowed into homelessness is being well spent? And do you worry? I'm curious, do you worry that the appetite is souring among the public for spending more, given the lack of progress that's happening?
No, I appreciate the question and the frame. It's the right question. It's one I ask myself all the time. As you know from the audit, one of the vexing issues that was highlighted in the audit was local appropriations, local data collection. And it's difficult at the state level. Member Ward introducing just a few days ago the proposal to take the framework of our housing accountability unit, which, by the way, has unlocked 23,000 housing units in the state. I'm really proud of their work, of what the audit was at least showcasing. And so that's another tool we hope we are able to have if the legislature embraces it in the next few weeks.
I'm sorry, Governor, I didn't hear responses to either of those questions. about whether this is state money ultimately. I understand it goes to the counties, but do you acknowledge whether the money that the state isn't doing enough to ensure that the money is being well spent? I also didn't hear a response to whether you think that there's any, I mean, is the public appetite, do you think, I'm hearing this, like souring towards putting more money into the, I didn't hear responses to either of those.
Well, and forgive me, I'll if I appear to repeat the first.
Now keep in mind, California has the highest tax rates in the country. If you're in the top earning tax bracket, you'll be paying around 56% of your annual earnings to the government. Think about that. You work hard all year long, think you bring in some decent scratch, and when April comes around, you owe 56% of your money to the government. You keep 44% for yourself. That's between federal and state taxes. It's theft. That's what that is. Theft. And after forcing hardworking people to pay the piper, they have the nerve to lose $24 billion of it and put the state of California in a $45 billion annual hole. It comes down to this. Who's the better steward of your money? You or the government? You or Gavin Newsom? You or Biden? I say you. All right, that wraps up the news portion of this video. Now I want to tell you about the sponsor for today's video, IBER. You can see their ticker symbol on the screen. So this is going to be a unique opportunity, folks. They're a tin mining company. I know what you're thinking, tin, but tin is a commodity that's not going anywhere. It's used to coat other metals to prevent corrosion. They use it in alloys, not to mention superconducting magnets. It's a resource that will be around and in high demand forever, as long as there's a need to solder something. As long as you got to solder something, you need tin. Tin's going to be around. And the crazy thing is, there's no way to invest in it like you can with almost all other commodities. There's no general ETF open to the public, which is why most investors don't hold tin in their portfolios. And the price for tin has been riding higher. This is the best performing base metal for Q1. You can see it on this chart. Now, tin production generally comes from some of the most failing countries in the world. Countries in Africa, then you got Indonesia, which is a proxy state of China, which means it's possible down the road they won't want to sell tin to the West in the future. Then China itself, China's the largest producer of tin, but here's the thing, China, they consume more tin than they produce. They're a net negative producer of tin, which is why I've been hyper-focused on Europe. The largest tin mine in Europe, it's called the Pinota. Remember that name, by the way, the Pinota mine, located in Spain, a first world country, which brought me to this company, IBER, the company that I'm telling you about, a small tin mining company, very small, but public, and they aren't located in the middle of nowhere like Papua New Guinea or the Congo or these other very dangerous locations. They're located in Europe, folks. And here's what caught my eye. The timing about this is amazing. This company, IBER, is about to close a major deal that could be a game changer for them. They're about to get board approval to acquire the largest tin mine in Europe, the Pinota. And this isn't just some old, once a long time ago mine that has to be completely refabbed or something. No, the current owner of Pinota spent the last 5 years, tens of millions of dollars to develop it into the largest tin mine in Europe, but grossly mismanaged the project, and all of a sudden, they're in trouble financially. Basically, this is a distressed sale, and IBER is trying to benefit from it. They're about to scoop up a crown jewel, the largest tin mine in all of Europe that recently, by the way, was experiencing historic production, and they're acquiring it for just $6 million. $6 million. How's that possible? Because the current owner has to sell it. They completely mismanaged the project. They're in financial distress, and they basically have no choice. And when I say historic production, the current company who owns this mine, Strategic Minerals, at their peak, when the mine was running smoothly, at a market cap of $78 million. And now they're forced to sell for $6 million, sell the mine for $6 million. It's close to 10 cents on the dollar. So IBER believes, if you read their investor presentation about this acquisition, that if and when this deal closes, their market cap, they say, should jump to $22 million. It's what they believe their company should be valued at. Their current market cap's around $17 million. And again, the current owner of the mine, Strategic Minerals, at their peak had a market cap of $78 million, around $78 million. Now, can IBER pull all of this off? Well, check this out. The former head of commodity research at the Carlyle Group, yes, the Carlyle Group, the 5th largest private equity company in the world, well, one of the key people over there before this guy moved on is a guy named David T. Young. He managed $4 billion for the Carlyle investors, focused on commodities. And guess what? He's now a director at IBER, the company that we're talking about. Now, the goal of this company is to take the mine and put it right back into production. So again, what's happening? In the next few days and weeks, there's going to be a shareholder vote. From what they say, it's very likely that the shareholders are going to vote in favor of moving forward with the acquisition. That's what they say. Then they're going to raise the funds and they're going to purchase the Pinota mine, the largest tin mine in Europe that ceased production only a few months ago because the current owner of it mismanaged the operation so badly. And IBER has already said, the CEO has said he believes they can resume production and become profitable shortly after they complete the acquisition. That's what he says. All right, so I'm going to leave you with this. I'll leave a link to their website in the description of this video. Again, always do your own due diligence. The company's public, so all the info is available. I'm only providing some of the information on this company, on the industry, on the mine, and the area. All right, that wraps up this video. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.